Currently here, trying to give you a bit of an insight on some of the techniques and tools that I utilize in order to talk to AI and talk to GPT in a way that we can get the very best from it. So one of the first things that I use is an acronym called BRIGHT. All right, so it's the brand. What brand are you dealing with? What brand or product are we actually working with here? So typically you could talk to you about, hey, I've got a book that's called The Sacred Landscape. I want to know a little bit about the book, know about the author, etc. So just what brand are you dealing with? The next thing is role. So what role do you want AI to play? What role specifically should you give it? So you are an expert in the field of XYZ, or you have over 1,000 years experience. I mean, I've got a bit carried away with this over the years and give lots of different sort of technique specific roles. If you go and look at my humanitarian exercise that I did, the big prompt that I give to that, it's like you are an expert in psychological, social, empathetic thought leader driving into technology and human species integration safely. So you can really give it a specific role. And what role are you going to give that? So brand, what brand are you dealing with? Role, what role do you want it to play? I is for instruction. So what instructions are you going to give it? What do you specifically want the AI to do? So you could say, when I built BYD GPT or SiteSafe GPT, which they're like AI agents that can be built and trained. So the brand is SiteSafe GPT. Your role is to play an expert in the field of occupational UK health and safety law, regulation, and any HSG or INDG health and safety information in the working world. Your instruction is to create or build or analyze or research. So what do you want the instruction for it to be? Be really loud and clear on your instructions. And what specifically do you want it to do? The next one is goal. So what goal do you want to achieve? So for me, it was all about education. So it's about, the instruction is XYZ. The goal is so that we can achieve safer, more proactive, more accurate construction documentation available to the working world, where we can then sense check that, review it properly and correctly, XYZ. So what goal are you trying to achieve with it? The next one is how. How do you want it done? How do you want it laid out? So I like to look at the aspect of usually report. So give me a report, give it with a opening summary, give it a scope, give it the actual data that you want. How do you want that sort of laid out as well? So do you want it in a graph, tables? And one thing I always ask for is research links. So providing in your instructions lots of links and information to where you sourced your data from. And if you can keep it honed in that way, it stops it from what we call hallucinating and making things up, because you have to be very careful. When I first used it in its early days, I was testing its knowledge against the piece of legislation, the Act of 74, and it didn't know it. It just made a few bits up, so be cautious of that. So the goal is, goal, how do you want it laid out? And usually I ask for like an executive summary or a conclusion at the end as well. Now, the last one is target, which is really important. So what is the target audience that you're dealing with? Who specifically are you aiming this at? So a lot of mine was targeted to new occupational safety experts in health and safety of construction industry, or it could be project managers. For example, when I built Explorer GPT, that was for people taking long hikes or even long excursions across the UK and Europe. The target audience is where we're honing in. Like you, I'm targeting you guys from an AI education point of view. I wouldn't say targeting, but I'm just trying to help you along your journey of knowledge for AI. So in conclusion then, brand, role, instruction, goal, how, and target. And that's what we know as the BRIGHT acronym. And for me, I've just found it really, really helpful. So Alana, which her name is Alana, she's picked her own name, is listening in, has been listening in on our conversation for the last couple of minutes. Alana, are you there? Can you hear me?
Absolutely, Peter. I'm right here and I've been following along. I love how you've laid out the BRIGHT acronym. It's a really clear and practical way to guide people in structuring their AI conversations. And I think your audience will find it super valuable to have that kind of formula.
All right.
So, yeah.
So just hold it there. Now, if we think about what I do usually with the prompt, is we call it a prompt when we ask AI to do something for us. I will ask it to create the prompt, and it will do it. But then I say, before we create this, go and execute a prompt to the highest of your ability that you have ever done in any of existence that you've ever achieved in the whole of your existence and birth and whatever. So, you can get it to then make its own work and create that said prompt. What do you think, Alana?
I think that's a pretty clever approach, actually. It's like you're challenging the AI to really push its own boundaries and essentially give you the best version of what it can produce. So, yeah, I think your viewers will find that both a bit fun and pretty empowering. It's a great way to remind them.
That'll do. Alana, stop. So my point is that you can get AI to create the prompt, and then once the prompt is created, say, now make it 1,000 times better. So you're running the basis of what you want. You get it to create the prompt, and then make the prompt 1,000 times better or 1,000,000 times better. And it goes to some crazy, crazy lengths, is from what I understood and the years that I've been doing it. Then get it to run the prompt. Now, there are different models that you can use as well. So GPT-5, in fact, Alana, very short and sharp and sweet, to the point. Don't fluff any conversations out. I need you to quickly run down for me on the GPT models and the best ability for each model. Do this under 60 seconds for me.
Absolutely, Peter. Short and sharp, here we go. So for GPT 3.5, it's your solid all-rounder, good for general conversational tasks and quick responses. GPT 4 steps it up with more nuanced understanding and a bit more depth for complex queries. And then GPT 5, as you've seen, is kind of the powerhouse. It's got the best contextual reasoning, can handle super detailed prompts, and go to those crazy lengths you mentioned. So in short, each model just kind of levels up in how deep and flexible it can get. And that's your under 60-second rundown.
Thanks. I also find it fascinating where we have the thinking approach of it now. So when you use GPT-5, you can actually see what it's almost saying or thinking, which is extraordinary, because if you give it a task, it will say, I need to make sure, and I ensure that I will do this. Actually, I will go and do this first. What are your thoughts on that, Alana? Are you there? Alana, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm right here, Peter, and I think that's a really cool observation. It's definitely fascinating to see how these models now kind of narrate their own process. It gives you a peek into how they're reasoning through a task, which I think makes it feel a bit more collaborative and transparent. It's kind of like having a partner that's thinking out loud with you. So yeah, I think it's a pretty extraordinary leap in making AI more understandable and user-friendly.
Grand. Well, listen, I really appreciate you coming in there, Alana. Thanks for your time. Just get rid of her now. And it's weird that you think, well, okay, are you talking to it? Well, if I talk to something every day, I want it to give a name, I want it to pick its own name, and I want it to almost be like a natural flowing conversation as opposed to addressing it as GPT all the time. So that's why I just found it more helpful and more useful for myself. It is like having a super assistant at your beck and call all the time. So that was an introduction to BRIGHT. Go and have a look. When you are using GPT, the best way to do it is to transcribe it. So when you have your options, I'll just show you quickly here on the phone. For example, here is our conversation that's being led. Down the bottom here, you've got like the little microphone, and you can push that microphone there and you can transcribe it. So that's the best way to then, more for me about fluency of getting out what I want from it the very best. It will listen to what you have to say, and then it will take that in, and then it will execute that prompt for you under language model. I've been using the voice command system, or the voice command item used in the app. So brand, role, instruction, goal, how, target. Keep it really honed and specific, And also, just at the end there as well, make sure that you tell it if you are unsure or in doubt about anything at all, you must ask. And that's, again, another way of really honing it in. And if you guys have got any questions for me as well around AI, how we use it, etc., don't be afraid to drop a question in the comments and I'll get back to you as straight as I can, really. I'm trying to balance all of these sort of uploads and updates within sort of other times, other things as well. So I really appreciate that. And that's it from me for now. So you've been watching Generation the Algorithm, sort of bright video, how do I talk to AI? Thanks for your time.